Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We're going to be right back with this week's tech guest, but as always, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, you've heard me say before, these are all great companies. You should be using them. They're time savers, they're tremendous resources. So I want you to take 3 minutes and listen to our sponsor shout outs. Don't fast forward. Then listen to our Tech Tuesday guest, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Tables and Video Boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. You've heard me say before, probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive Indoor Score Table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We want to say thanks to our friends at Huddle. Go to huddle.com and find out all the ways that their platform can help your program. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com, join the 100 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We want to thank Beacon Creative and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade, but Beacon Creative takes it to a whole new level. Beacon Creative is a content creation service, and what they'll do is take your stories, your kids, your coaches, your history, and come up with compelling narratives that you can then post on your social media platform, like a Wall of Fame panel. You really got to see it to believe it. I want you to email John Townsend, and you can do that at John, John, at beaconwalloffame.com. Beacon Creative and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. It's a winning team. We want to say thanks to our friends at Home Campus. Now, Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day, scheduling rosters, results, facilities. Did I mention athletic eligibility and clearance? That's a platform that is a game changer. You can find it all at homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. And as always, don't forget to mention the podcast. We want to say thanks to our friends at Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. Your athletic department, your teams, your kids are doing great things, and you need to share them, and that's where Gipper comes in. You can create, share, even schedule social media content on one simple platform. It's so easy, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com for more information. We want to say thanks to our friends at Hometown. Hometown continues to be a game changer in our profession with their solutions that include things like, well, digital ticketing, of course, but how about athletic website construction, fee-free fundraising? The list just goes on and on. Whether you're a principal, an athletic director, or a coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your entire community together. Go to hometown.com for more information, and don't forget to mention the podcast. We want to say thanks to Ohio University and their online master's in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but guess what? My assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others. And while they were earning their degrees, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. We also want to say thanks to Booster Hub. Booster Hub is the #1 Booster Club software program, and their platform, it's incredible. Sponsorship payments, meal fees, concession sales, everything flows through their secure system. Volunteer signups, volunteer changes, nothing falls through the cracks. Your funding stays strong and your community stays engaged. Communication, spiritware sales, all of these things give your boosters more time to support you as fans. Isn't that what you want? Give your boosters the platform they need. Give them the platform they deserve. Go to boosterhub.com. And finally, we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. At my school, we use surveys for everything, student athletes, coaches, parents, and here's the cool thing. The information that would come back, almost always over the top positive. I'm talking 98%, and it'll be the same for you. We also got to hear from our squeaky wheel parents, but the surveys allowed us to hear their concerns, usually address them before they turned into something big. But having all that positive data, incredibly valuable, especially if you're visiting with a frustrated parent, sometimes your principal, sometimes even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let them create a custom survey that's going to let you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And as always, tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. Our guest today is somebody I like to call an old friend of the show. We're going to be visiting today with Jan Wilking. If you've listened to the podcast, you certainly recognize that name. Jan's the founder and I guess the CEO of the Coaches Toolchest. It's an incredible resource for coaches, for athletic directors, and anyone who works in athletics. We had her on the podcast a while back. Thought it was time to bring her back for a Tech Tuesday segment. So Jan Wilking, welcome back to the Educational AD Podcast.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. I appreciate you calling me an old friend. How about we'll say experienced friend as opposed to old, right?
There we go. We'll say a good friend because I am much older than you. For our listeners, we're recording this here on February 26th, so it's going to be very timely as you listen to it. In Florida, it's a sunny 7 degrees. Jan's got snow on the ground, so hopefully wherever you're listening to this, you've got some nice weather. Jan, you and I were kicking around some things to discuss before we started to record, and you mentioned that you were aware of the initiative that's currently happening in my state, Florida, regarding coaches' pay. I'm going to put you on the spot. What have you heard about it? And then, because I'm involved with it a little bit, hopefully I can, maybe add some to the discussion.
Absolutely. Well, I heard about it because we have a relationship with FSU Coach. They work a lot with us to provide some of our content that is on the platform. They do an amazing job of really hitting the relevant things for coaches, and they're very engaged in the different things going on, particularly in Florida, but really nationwide. I mean, they're cutting edge in some of the research. So that's where I was introduced to the Coaches Coalition, trying to understand what the issues were in Florida. Obviously, Coaches Toolchest has customers in Florida, and being a former coach myself and being a former athletic director, I was curious as to what the issues were and if those were things that were consistent in the other states that we're a part of. So my understanding is that within the state of Florida, there were some coaches maybe up near the border of Georgia, maybe, just some areas in which they could go to different states and coach because of the difference in the compensation. And was Florida falling behind in attracting new, young, and keeping talented coaches, and in keeping those experienced coaches that have cut their teeth in Florida, have been doing great things for kids, but their pay is simply not on par with what other states are offering, or what they can, the grass might be greener somewhere else, so to speak. Right. So I understand that there's definitely been a movement, and it includes all sports. I think sometimes things get a bad rap of, well, it's only football, and it really pertains to, we're going to say all sports, but it really just pertains to football. But from what I've seen, they've done a good job of including multiple sports in the discussion, and really thinking about why it's best to have a true educator as a part of the experience for their high school students, and how they can continue to retain and attract new educators to come to Florida to be a part of the schools and the interscholastic athletics there.
That's actually a pretty good summary. I guess first thing I want to say is thanks for giving FSU Coach a shout out. Dr. Tim Baghurst, Dr. Megan Bunning, they are old friends of the show. We've had them on multiple times. One of their FSU coach graduates, degree graduates, is a gal named Tessa Taylor. She's a longtime coach here in Florida. She's actually been on the podcast a couple times, and she's one of the district reps for the organization, which is called the Florida Coaches Coalition. A gentleman named Dr. Andrew Ramjet is the founder and the CEO of the Florida Coaches Coalition. He's a longtime athletic director here in Florida. And the number one, maybe even the singular goal of the Florida Coaches Coalition is to raise the level of compensation for coaches, all coaches, as you mentioned, here in the state of Florida. The funding is different, I think, from state to state. In Florida, it's different from school district to school district. And you're absolutely right. Neighboring states like Georgia, it's no secret, a coach, and we can pick on football because it does get, I think, all the accolades and all the darts sometimes. A head football coach in Georgia can be hired by a public school to just coach football, and very often have a salary in six figures just to coach football. And I don't mean that, in a negative way, just to coach football. They're being rewarded for, being a football coach. In Florida, coaching contracts, almost across the board, public and private, are stipends. They're additional stipend payments on top of teaching some kind of load, maybe half, maybe full, during the school day. And those total combined salaries rarely go past the $70,000 or $80,000 range. So it is quite a discrepancy. Looking at the amount of time that any coach puts in. A golf coach, a track coach, a swim coach, a basketball, soccer coach. You name it. Looking at the time they put in, if there's opportunities, nearby or maybe even in further states, coaches just to take care of themselves, take care of their family, they have to look at that. I can give an example. I was the athletic director before I retired at one of maybe the most successful private school in Florida, both academically and athletically. In their 60 years of being a school, they average a team state championship or state runner-up every year. Okay, that's how good they are. Great kids, great coaches, great support from the administration. He was the director of soccer. He was the boys soccer coach, and then he hired somebody to coach the girls. But he was our director of soccer. Didn't teach at the school, and has been there. Well, now he's been there over 30 years. And when I retired 5 years ago, he and I were having this discussion. He had not had a raise in those 25 years. His original contract was still valid. So that's not an exception. That is very common across the board in Florida. I don't want to throw out averages because I know I'll be wrong, but I know for many years the stipend that I received I was the AD and the head football coach at a school in South Florida. My football stipend, and this would have been 2003, 2004, was about $3,500. I know there are varsity head coaches right now at big public schools that's their stipend is just about that same thing 25 years later. So something needs to be done. And that's where the Florida Coaches Coalition has come in. I'm going to mention one more thing, and then I'm going to shut up and let you talk. What Dr. Ramjet and the coalition has been able to do in the last couple of years is they found some very willing state legislators, senators, and representatives to listen and champion this cause. And bills have currently been drafted, revised, and approved by both houses, the Florida State Senate, the Florida State House, and they're waiting for our governor to sign them into law. It's not a guarantee of, six-figure salaries, but it does a couple of things from a legal standpoint that gives school districts the freedom to compensate coaches better. It's not a mandate. People are saying, where's the money going to come from? Well, that's still something that's being figured out. But it is certainly tremendous progress and encouragement from where we were a few years ago. So I'm going to shut up now.
All good, all good. It's fascinating. It's great work. And you think about all the things that we ask our coaches to do. From our perspective, obviously at Coaches Toolchest, we try to work with coaches and schools to make sure they have the appropriate, not just mandated training, but the appropriate professional development. And lots of districts are asking coaches to do these things. And so, there is a point where compensation has to tag along. And it certainly has been, it's been fascinating to watch and hear through, you mentioned Dr. Tim, we talk with him quite a bit, but it has been fascinating to follow that path.
Yeah. Again, the next step or the ongoing step, with legislation is, bills or whatever, they continue to get modified. Right now coaches and athletic directors are feeling, wow, the state legislature really loves us. They've got our back. At the same time, Florida as a state, we talk about the college having the transfer portal. Florida high school has had the transfer portal for years, where high school kids can literally go to one school in the fall, finish that season, go to a second school for the winter sports season, play soccer, basketball, whatever it is, and then in the spring, go to a third school and play that spring sport, all because of state statute. And that happened because several years ago, a student athlete was denied a transfer based on, I would say, pretty common sense transfer rules that still exist in many states. That student's parents got the ear of their state representative, I guess. And to make a long story short, it's now a state law that kids can jump all over the place and go to whatever school they want to. Okay? No AD, no coach likes it, but it's a state law. Now, on the plus side, with the momentum we've gotten with the coaching stipends situation and the Florida Coaches Coalition, there is some chatter that transfer law may be tweaked, modified, maybe even repealed. So hopefully that will happen. But again, it's crazy the differences from state to state.
Yeah, we certainly see that in the different requirements. There are states, believe it or not, that require coaches to just get professional development and training one time, and then they're finished for the length of their career. So if you're a 25-year-old coach or a 55-year-old coach and it's year one of you coaching interscholastic athletics, we'll provide you with information to support your students' mental health, to prevent hazing within your program, to have good sportsmanship. But that state's statutes believe that once you do that one time, you're good to go for the remainder of your career. And I think what people are realizing with things like Coaches Toolchest coming along is, that annual training is so incredibly valuable. We as educators know that people learn by repetition, and to think that they're going to learn all of the bylaws of different organizations or any kind of the emergency responses in a single time training that then they never have to repeat. It is fascinating that is how the legislatures kind of dictate what needs to be done within our schools.
Yeah, and I was just talking to an athletic director in another state saying that they have, I think it's a memo or memorandum of understanding with the state legislator, maybe it's the Department of Education, that the State Activities Association, they're going to be the authority on, all things education-based athletics, including things like that, training for coaches. And other states, have actually gone in and abolished the State Activities Association and appointed their own folks to theoretically do a better job with athletics. We know that doesn't happen. So it's a lot of challenges out there. You and I were also kicking around NIL, which seems to be taking off now at the high school level. I think we're both on the same page as far as college NIL. We're not against kids getting paid for their talents, but it certainly needs they need a few more guardrails on what's happening at the college level. And what I found interesting at the high school level, and I am not an expert by any means, but I know, like in Florida, our state association came out with policies, rules, if you will, regarding NIL. Other states have come out with recommendations, which means it's kind of the Wild West, and that's exactly what's happened in one state I'm thinking about in particular. That you have unscrupulous vendors coming in and promising kids and parents, we'll get you NIL deals, just sign here. What's been your, I guess, response and what's happening in your area as a non-expert on the NIL
Thank you for that
subject?
disclosure. I'm definitely not an expert in that area. So interestingly enough, Ohio, which is where I'm based out of, we became, I think, the 46th state, and I definitely could be wrong about that, the 46th state to pass some NIL rules. The membership of the OHSAA did pass to allow student athletes to benefit from their name, image, and likeness. And I just read, I think it was last week or maybe the week before, Michigan now has joined the party, so to speak. What I've learned about NIL in just speaking with ADs across the country at various things, whether it be the NIAAA or different conferences, is it's high school NIL is not college. There typically are, at least in Ohio and in most of the states, except for the ones that you mentioned, have quote unquote recommendations, which I think that all has to be changed. But there are no collectives. There's not groups of alumni putting money in pockets and this type of thing. It is more structured, and it is more, I should say it's designed to be more structured and designed to be truly, I think, more of what it was intended to be when it even went to the NCAA, and then the NCAA kind of punted and there were no guardrails, and then they had to backtrack on so many different issues. But states are feeling their way around. I do think both states and schools have to be very cognizant of the, as you mentioned, unscrupulous vendors or unscrupulous people who are maybe not having the best interest of the student athlete. Because at the end of the day, interscholastic athletics is truly about how can we have great programming for our middle school and high school students. That's it. I mean, in a nutshell, how can we do that? Whether it's through coach training, whether it's through NIL, however we can set that up, that's the goal. And so I think that, if there's people out there who don't have that as their mission, maybe they'll understand as it goes that, those aren't the best people to work with.
Now, again, Ohio, correct me if I'm wrong. I think your state association came out a while back and said, Ohio will not have NIL. And then your state legislatures said, yes, you will have NIL. And then the association, responded with, okay, well, here's our NIL policy. Is that an accurate representation of what's happened so far?
So pieces of that, but it is true that a few years ago, there was a vote of the membership to, I think I was an athletic director at the time, actually, do we want NIL? And I think at that time, there maybe were 5 or 6 states that had it. And so the membership voted it down. That wasn't something that the membership was interested in doing. And then what ended up happening was there was a student athlete from the Dayton area who sued the OHSAA because he did have the opportunity to receive some NIL funds as a student athlete at a high school. And so he sued the OHSAA to say, I should in fact have this right. All these other states, in fact, do have this right. So why not us scenario? And at that point, the OHSAA went and spoke to the different schools and said, hey, either we need to put this in place on our own, or we're going to lose this court case and we're going to be mandated as to how this goes. And so the membership agreed clearly by the vote that they wanted to be the people who put it in place. And the legislature, at this point, actually, interestingly enough, there has now been a bill introduced, I think it was about 2 months ago, by a state legislator who wants NIL abolished in Ohio. So it's gone from yes, we should have it to no, we don't want it to, okay, we need to have it to now that we have it, we don't, some lawmakers believe that we don't want it. So man, it's a soap opera.
Yeah. It's always great when the courts get involved. I think at this point, speaking of Ohio, it's probably good to mention an NIL, somebody who is an NIL expert, Dr. Scott Grant of Triple Threat Leadership. If you have questions about NIL, talking to our listeners now, just go to triplethreatleadership.com, look up Scott Grant. He has probably got his finger on the pulse of all things NIL at the high school level and is a great resource on what might be happening in your state. I think from an AD perspective, we want to see our kids, our teams, our coaches, we want to have them experience all the positive things of education-based athletics. From an NIL perspective, we don't want anybody to sign a contract that's going to end up blowing up in their face. And for a legitimate NIL person that has a chance of getting some NIL money at the college level, you don't want to see them mess up their chances through some sort of NCAA violation that they did, as a high school student, violating professional rules and that sort of thing. But for me, and I've said this many times on the podcast, the whole sky is falling regarding high school NIL. I'm just not in that camp. It's not going to impact that many kids that we see. What are your thoughts, Jan?
I would agree, and I hear that over and over again from different athletic directors who are leaders within their state, who are providing workshops at different conferences. When I listen in to the NIL topics, because we provide, part of the good things that Coaches Toolchest does is we provide each state with an individualized set of curriculum. And so the NIL module for Florida is different than the NIL module for Ohio because the rules are different. And so we provide those coaches state-specific information. But what I hear from those is exactly what you just said, Jake, which is, you're talking about not even the top 1%. You're talking about 0.5% of the student athletes having NIL awards. And the numbers, there might be a student athlete in the 100,000, but there's probably one or two of those. The average, I think I read somewhere, was somewhere in definitely less than $1,000, but I want to say in the $200 or $300 range. And a lot of those are, your grandma has a business and they're going to make their grandchild an NIL award or this type of thing. So does it exist? Absolutely. Are there people making a whole lot of money, student athletes? Absolutely. But is it a widespread, the sky is falling situation? I don't believe that it is. You
took the example right out of my mouth. A good friend is a county AD in Georgia. Pretty good athletic state. And they are charged with supplying the numbers of NIL offers, if you will, to their state association. He mentioned, this was maybe a couple months ago, he has 10,000 student athletes in his county. Of those 10,000, currently less than, I'm going to say, I think it's even lower, but I'll go high, less than 100 NIL reports have been turned in. And the most glamorous of those NIL reports was $1,000 NIL from exactly what you said. It was a kid whose grandparents had a dairy, and they sponsored their grandson for $1,000, had a little commercial and everything. And the kid's not even a starter on the team. Yeah, it's just when people really start wringing their hands about NIL, it kind of annoys me. Is it possible for an unscrupulous booster or athletic director or coach to, use NIL in a recruiting way to entice a kid to change schools? Absolutely. But hey, guess what? That already existed before
Correct.
there was NIL. Okay. So you talked about resources. Let's do that to wrap things up. Coaches Toolchest. It's been around for years. You work directly with state activity associations, with coaches associations. What are some of the resources that you can provide? You also work with individual schools. What are some of the resources that you can provide, and how can our listeners find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. So website is coachestoolchest.com. Basically, as a former AD, what we want to be able to provide through Coaches Toolchest is we want to allow athletic directors and coaches to get back to doing what they should be doing to build relationships with either players or coaches if you're an AD, to get back to building programs, to establishing culture, and to get out from behind the desk of managing, does this coach have this certification? When does it expire? Oh my gosh, it could expire on any of the 365 days of the year. So I'm constantly checking that. I'm constantly basically managing paperwork and spreadsheets and making sure that everybody's compliant, which is incredibly important. Don't get me wrong. It's incredibly important for multiple reasons. But there's a better way. There's a simpler way to do that. And that's what we've developed through Coaches Toolchest is we can not only provide state specific information to you, but we can do it in a way that allows your coaches to have a single source with a single certificate with a single date that you're tracking as an athletic director and get you back to building culture, establishing relationships, and doing the things that honestly are why we became coaches and athletic directors. We didn't become coaches and athletic directors to track forms and to make sure that Coach Jones took their concussion information. Is it important Coach Jones has that concussion information? Absolutely. But once they get it, let's let them move on to doing things that really impact kids and move the needle within our programs.
Oh, no, absolutely. Great stuff. So again, listeners, the website, coachestoolchest.com, coachestoolchest.com. Click on the contact us link. The phone number jumps up. The email is there, info@coachestoolchest.com. And you can also see about all the different resources that are available to you. Jan, thanks so much for coming back on the podcast and sharing with our listeners. All the best as we move into spring sports across the country. And obviously, we're going to have to get you back on the podcast.
Well, I appreciate it very much. And hopefully spring sports means a little bit warmer weather for those of us who aren't living in Florida. So we'll hope for that.
Now, speaking of Florida, I know last year you came down to our state conference in May. Are you coming back?
So unfortunately, the timing didn't work out. I'm headed to Georgia actually tomorrow for their state conference. So excited to see the good folks of Georgia. And certainly I'll be at the Missouri State Conference and the Ohio Conference, which that happens in November. So we have a little bit different schedule. But yeah, I'm excited to see different folks throughout the country in the next couple months and help them get back to doing things that they love to do.
Well, you got to get on the Iowa conference. I'm going to be doing their keynote at the end of March. And then in July, I'm going all the way up to Montana. So,
oh, nice.
So hopefully we'll cross paths again. If
Absolutely.
not, we'll see you at the national conference.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Always good to see you.
Thanks, Jan. We also want to say thanks to our listeners and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Tech Tuesday just about every week, and just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Before we go, of course, we want to give a shout out one more time to our great sponsors. Now remember, visit these sponsors, particularly if you're not using them. Check out what they can do for you and your program. We want to say thank you to Hometown. Go to hometown.com. I want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and videos. That's sidelineinteractive.com. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack, athleticsurveys.com. Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle. As an AD, we were a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com for more information. Booster Hub. It's the #1 Booster Club software program. Go to boosterhub.com. Home Campus. Scheduling, rosters, results, facilities, eligibility. Home Campus does it all, does it better than the others. Go to homecampus.com. Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Check out Ohio University. Gipper. Go to gipper.com. Let their team turn you into a social media marketing guru. That's gipper.com. Beacon Creative and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. It's a winning team. Email John Townsend at Beacon Creative. And K-12 Sports Tech. Let's give them a shout out. Go to k12sportstech.com. Become part of the AD Think Tank. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.